does not suit us. We're born for the storm.
3rd Battalion, 5th Marines deployed to this Helmand. Deployed to Helmand in 2010. Our company was, or actually our battalion was assigned to go to Sangin. So we got there in September of 10 and redeployed home after 7 months in April of 2011.
Exciting. It was, at first we got there, just our blood was pumping. We wanted, to get some. That's why, I signed up for it. And all the guys signed up next to me, left and right of me. And as soon as we get there, we just kind of started. We started getting shot at every day. We started doing small patrols. We didn't know any of that camp Falad, and it was small, but we just kind of branched out. But it was scary but fun, and it's just a bunch of mixed emotions that you can't really. I don't know. I can't explain myself. I'm not too good at it, but you got to be there to see and feel what it actually is.
My platoon was a unique group of characters. I truly believe it was divine intervention that put the people, the Marines that made up 3rd Platoon in place. Before we deployed, we had already had the characters were in place, if you will, to make for a successful deployment. The Marines loved each other. They competed as Marines do. But the immense amount of leadership that was present in the platoon at the NCO ranks was something that I hadn't seen before up to that point. I'd been in the Marine Corps for 12 years at that point. Right? It's like you want to go to combat. Every Marine does. You want to know that the guy to your left or your right, or the girl to your left or your right, will cover your six when needed. But you also know that it's extremely dangerous. We knew before going into where we went that casualties would occur. We didn't really assess the level at which casualties would occur as we did, but going with people you care about is really the only way to do it, I think, and I think every Marine would tell you that. But when injuries, wounds, and death come apart, it's very, very painful.
Losing someone, losing a friend, losing a fighter, losing a brother, losing and even dying, someone losing their arm, limbs, getting shot. It's just that first time we saw it, we're kind of desensitized to it because we see it, and the next day we got to keep going. But I think later on, it hits you later on as the time goes by, because like one day you'll be like, hey, where's Cineros at? Or, oh, where's, and you forget, like, oh, crap, this guy, he died or he got shot. And that's when it kind of hits you. It hits you all at once. It didn't really bother me when I was there, but when I got back, that's when all those mixed feelings and that rush of just like, man, what happened? It kind of hit you then, and it hits you hard. And I don't know, that was for me, I don't know for other guys, but it hit me where it destroyed me. But life goes on and we keep trying to go.
The hardships that I don't think I was ready for, how hard the hardships would be. And then some key examples is the loss of life, not just in our platoon, but then because we were so dispersed. We all had friends in other companies that were far away, and then you find out in bulk, like who was maimed, wounded, who was killed. I learned 2 of my best friends were killed within 2 days. They were killed weeks apart, but I found out on the same day, that 2 other lieutenants of mine, 2 buddies of mine were gone. What it's like to the hard part for me was there's so many factors that go into that. So there's dealing personally with the loss of life, being in command of a platoon of people that you love, knowing that you're sending them into a high-risk mission where the probability of casualties is high, and saying go.
Sinisteros was in our company, in our platoon. He's a machine gunner. He came to us late in the deployment, or late into the pre-deployment stages, but he became one of us instantly. Just a lovable guy, just amazing. He would give you the shot of his back, and he would not complain. He worked hard. I mean, he's a machine gunner, and he knew what a machine gunner was meant to be, and he embodied that, man, completely. And when we lost him, and that was the first one that we lost when we were in Camp Helmand, and it just realized, life is short. And after that, we just, we had to make sure everyone got home safe after that, because it can happen again. And luckily with us, it didn't happen again, but we lost guys, but never, not like that. And I'm just glad that we were able to bring our guys home safe, but it killed me. It killed us.
Lance Corporal John Sparks. That was within our first week, I believe. My platoon was supporting another platoon. We found out that, and this was, I have to look back, but I mean, this was within a week of being there, we found out that young Marine had been killed. He was a machine gunner. And you flash back to times when you could picture his face, and I always pictured his face. I ran into him on duty all the time. It seemed like he and I had duty all the time at the same time, and I could always picture this big, huge smile on his face, and playing through that. And then you fast forward a little bit, and some more Marines from 3-5 were killed, and then Irvin Sinisteros was killed, and he was mine. And of all the people in the world that you wouldn't expect to fall, it'd have been that Marine. He was something spectacular. He fell the way that I think if he had to write his own story, I think that's how he would have wrote it though. He died a hero. He saved, I don't know how I mean, that's probably immeasurable. He exposed himself to enemy fire in a major way with his machine gun, drew fire to himself, and died pulling the trigger. He literally died behind his gun after refusing medical treatment. That was a hard day. More than our killed in action, I think of our wounded, like Tyler Huffman, shot, was paralyzed. Got David Noblett, amputee. Derek Goodrich, amputee. And the list goes on and on. Apollos and Watson, all these Marines that I lost, right? And they were doing their job. They were doing above and beyond their job. So when we talk about losing Marines, I think about the ones that are still on the deployment today, because they're dealing with the wounds that they incurred on that deployment. And those mean just as much to me as the ones that lost their life. Memorial Day to me is a year-round day. I think about those Marines every single day. I wake up to them in the middle of the night, thinking about them, and not in a nightmare way, like just wondering what they're doing, how they're doing, how's the families doing of the ones that were killed. I haven't taken the bracelet off of my wrist in 8 years. I ride a motorcycle that has all 25 of our killed on it. Memorial Day to me is every year now, or every day of every year.
Even before, when I was in the Marine Corps, I understood Memorial Day, even before I understood it, but not until you see that sacrifice that these men and women are putting, out there. We get there and like it's crazy to think that someone's willing to lose their life for you. That's the reason I went. That's the reason we all went. We didn't go to just, we went to go help those people out in Afghanistan, stuff like that, but we went for each other. It wasn't about them, it was about us, and that's all we cared about. So that, Memorial Day now, to me, just like I saw the blood, the tears that we shed. That's when you realize what actually Memorial Day is. People say, thank you for your service, or, I'm sorry you lost someone, but, the Gold Star family members, everyone that actually, lost someone, they feel it, and every year, they remember it. It gives them a chance to remember, because we're all human beings. We all start to we forget, but there's something that comes back, and that's why I'm glad Memorial Day happens, and because we see the faces again. I mean, you go to Laguna Hills Memorial Run, and they have all the pictures of all the Marines that we lost in Sangin. And you see the faces, and you see them smiling, and it makes you happy. You're like, oh man, I love that guy. I knew him. Like, oh man, you keep going down and down. You're like, beautiful. And you get pumped up again, like, we did it for a reason, and they knew it, and they sacrificed themselves, and you appreciate it more, like a lot more.
Castillo was a bad mother effort, man. I just want to tell him that, like, from when we met, when I first met, you can tell he's a stud, and everyone said, he's a good Marine, he's a good guy. He was just an awesome being. Like, there's no one else you can put him against, and you take him anywhere with you, and he would, even if you're wrong, he'd back you up just because he was making sure that you're okay. And same thing, we're not saying like other companies, we have Abate, Sparks, Stack, like those guys I knew, and say like Sparks for me was when I first got there to the unit, he was my boot. I got there, we trained him up, and then we lost him to another platoon. But I mean, when I used to cut that guy's hair, that's how close we were. I used to cut his hair every once in a while, and then
you cut everybody's hair.
Yeah, you hear on the radio, we were going through that thing, and someone got shot, and we heard the Sparks, and you just kind of like you sink down. You're like, oh man. And same to the Sparks, I love you, man. I miss you. Themselves, miss you. Abate, love you, miss you, and I just wish I could hug them. That's it. Just hug them.
Yeah, I'd say I love you. Like that's something that we always. You won't find a place outside of combat. I don't think, at least our patrol base, where grown men will say I love you to each other and actually mean it. And I've got video of that. What would I say to them? To all the 25, to Sparks, Stack, Kelly, Donnelly. I will spend the rest of my life doing this, talking to people about them, what they did, and what it meant to all of us. That's kind of my. We're gonna live our lives making sure that we show the appreciation. We're not gonna take life for granted. They're not forgotten. They never will be. We're 8 years now. 9. We're 9 years now, and we're still talking about it. Before we left that patrol base,
like it's yesterday.
Yeah, like it's yesterday.
I remember everything. I can smell it.
Yeah, right. We vowed that anytime we were asked to do an interview or talk about this, that we would. We weren't going to be quiet, and I think that's what makes us 3rd Platoon, Ronin 3, unique. Not that other units don't have that. And I would argue it's the Marine Corps. Like, our story is a story. You probably find another 1,000 of these stories for guys who shared and stuff like we did. I'd say thank you, love you, and yeah, you won't be forgotten.
Fate whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. The warrior whispers, I am the storm.